Yo, it's Guido, the owner of the Afri-Culture Concepts YouTube channel, back at it again for another installment of knowledge to ponder on. Today, we will take you back into an ancient complex down in the old West African with Savannah, in which today is known as the modern country of Ghana, not to be confused with ancient Ghana properly known as Wagadu, much further to the north, which is a completely different place and a completely different people. Were West Africans always the product of colonization? Or did Proto-West Africans colonize the regions that they currently occupy, with earlier peoples that were there prior to their arrival? Well, the emergence of the Kintampo being the result of incursions from the northern dry savannas, or indigenous innovation, is the topic of debate today about these particular regions of West Africa. Thousands of years ago, ranging from possibly 2500 BCE, 1500 BCE, and probably earlier, there were lands further south of Tichet, within the West African with savannas that were occupied by Pun-Pun foragers that had distinct material culture, and food collecting or producing practices that were distinct from those of the Kintampo culture. According to some archaeologists, the Pun-Pun culture may have been predominantly a hunting and gathering society. The Kintampo complex showed much affinities to cultures further north in the Sahel region of West Africa, like Tichet of modern-day Mauritania and Tlemcen of modern-day Mali, indicating some form of dispersal from those regions and cultural and possible biological diffusion in this region. The people of Kintampo lived in open-air villages composed of rectangular structures made from wattle and daub construction techniques. Some houses used mud and clay, and many were found to have been supported by wooden poles, and some had stone foundations made of granite and laterite. Rock shelters were also used as dwellings, especially to the south, near the Atlantic coast. Many settlements were situated along the White Volta River, which flowed north to south through Ghana and into the Atlantic Ocean. Other settlements, such as the rock shelters of southwestern Ghana and southeastern Ivory Coast, were also found near the Atlantic coast. They also kept domesticated dogs and goats and cattle. Numerous types of tools have been excavated at Kintampo, including polished axes crafted from calc-chlorite schist, many types and sizes of grinding stones, small quartz microlith projectile points of various shapes and styles, and stone celts. A few harpoons have been found, but these are rare. The knapping technique they used is well understood by lithics experts. The stone core was placed on a hard level surface such as a large rock, log, or trunk, then struck from above, forcing flakes to separate from the material from underneath. This use of a makeshift anvil is typical of bipolar percussion. There is some confusion about the purpose of a number of small stone and ceramic objects that are cigar-shaped and rasp-like. They are thought to be tools for creating pottery, of which bowls and jars seem to be the most common. The jars range from 12-44 cm in diameter. The bowls were slightly smaller on average, ranging from 10-30 cm. Many times these pots were decorated with a comb-like or rake pattern. These were likely used not only for the storage of food and water, but also for boiling and crafting sauces. The pottery appears to have been fired in a pit, typical of early ceramic practices. In fact, the pottery of Kintampo have been widely studied. In fact, it is possibly the most studied later Stone Age ceramics in West Africa. Pieces of a substance known as daga has been found along with the stone artifacts. Daga is chunks of ceramics that have been visibly marked by sticks or other pole-like implements. Somewhat common at Kintampo sites, these are understood to represent occupation in dwellings. The Kintampo culture is known for possibly the first occurrences of figurative art and objects of personal decoration in West Africa. Stone armbands that would have been worn as decoration have been found at several Kintampo sites. At the sites of Boy Ass Hill and Nursero, clay figurines of animals like dogs, lizards, and cows were found, though it is not well understood what their meaning might be. This is all very important to those who study the humanities, as the emergence of art and the depiction of life through art is of great interest to both art historians and archaeologists alike. The Kintampo site is most often studied by archaeologists who are interested in seeing how people made the change between foraging and horticulture and agriculture as a way of producing food. Kintampo is seen as an example of neither foraging or farming, but somewhere in between. As practitioners of sedentism, derived from the word sedentary, the people of Kintampo spent more time in their villages and less time wandering around, hunting and gathering food. They took advantage of plants that were native to the area, and although technically they were not farming, they did influence the evolution of plants, effectively being some of the first to domesticate plants in Africa. Pearl millet is a crop that is well suited to hot climates and is thought to have been first domesticated in the area. It is speculated that the people of Kintampo may have deliberately adapted it to mature faster, to allow for quicker harvest. Its charred remains have been excavated at Kintampo and was valuable to people living in West Africa because it could be stored after harvest to be used at a later date. There is evidence of trade of foods with other people throughout the region. One item of evidence is that the millet has been found with shell beads that would have been imported from the ocean. Another important staple to the people who settled at Kintampo was the oil palm. The oil palm was used at Kintampo starting at least 4,000 years ago. A very useful plant in many ways, it serves as a source of drink, food, and construction material. It was allowed to flourish in the region due to its preference for a constant warm climate and high rainfall. As a food, the oil can be extracted from the mesocarp, which covers the plant, and the kernel, which is also edible by itself. It is an excellent source of vitamin A, which would have helped to support a growing population. It is speculated that ceramic techniques were improved so that the nut of the oil palm could be further cooked. The cowpea, incense tree, hackberry, yams, and sorghum are also known to have been grown. Grasses were most likely not harvested as often, as the climate makes it difficult for grasses to grow. Kintampo people also kept livestock. Goats, sheep, and cattle remains have been found. Other wild animals such as monitor lizards, snails, guinea fowl, vervet monkey, baboon, turtles, and tortoises, royal and diker antelopes, giant pouch, and cane rats were hunted as game. Archaeologists have studied at least 3 dozen sites relating to the Kintampo complex in 3 different types of environments within and near Ghana: the northern savanna, the central woodland savanna, and the southern forest. Here is an artistic depiction of what a typical Kintampo family would have looked like back in those days, along with their family dwelling place, with some depictions of possible cultural or religious relics and/or artifacts. I think that is pretty impressive myself. What is even more astounding is the fact that these people lived side by side with huge monitor lizards that are basically like modern-day dinosaurs. I wonder what happened to them, and if they still exist in this area of West Africa. A few things that I would like to point out is that there were older populations that lived in these areas prior to the people that kind of kickstarted this Kintampo culture. Second thing I would like to point out is that these were ancient West African villagizers, sort of speak. Third would be the presence of sort of a merger between the two cultures, with the presence of sedentary living with small occurrences of hunting and gathering still present. This type of information should help you develop a new perspective of West African development and hopefully a new understanding of human variation. Just because there may have been populations in the region that may or may not have appeared to have dark skin, these two cultures were totally distinct from each other. An older group of West Africans encountering a newer group of West Africans and probably becoming assimilated into the more productive culture. Just something to ponder on. But anyway, I am all out of time. So I want to thank you guys for stopping by to catch another installment of Afri-Culture Concepts. Please like, share, and subscribe so that you can help this channel grow. Peace, and have a great week.